Good morning, everybody. I hope this video finds you well. Today I want to talk a little bit about what's next on the DIY teleportation. And specifically, we're going to talk about the most crucial and critical aspect of this device, this mechanism. Let me have a Slurpee cup. He actually got a medium size instead of a small size today to fortify me for today's activities. As we've discussed before, a strong electromagnetic flux will blank out, alter your being, the quanta associated with your being, and make it a blank sheet of paper. If you turn the system off, it automatically reverts to the environment around you. These are gravitational influences. So the trick here is to go into this machine, this device, become a white piece of paper and blank, and then give yourself new coordinates. Now keep in mind, you're walking into this bath, this flux, this electromagnetic bath that's totally turned you into a blank piece of paper. How do you then override the gravitational influences that surround you? The gravitational influence, not the gravity, the gravitational influences. Well, that's simple. Well, it's simple in theory. There's a bit of engineering issues that are involved. But basically what happens here is you need to then, the moment you walk in, so the first phase is nothing's going on, then you walk in and you become a white sheet of paper, and then right after you're a white sheet of paper, you need to modulate that magnetic flux to be the same as if you're in the target environment. And then boom, you go right to the target environment. So let's suppose, I'm just going to use some broad, let's suppose that you want to go to a world where everything is red. There's no other colors. And so what you would do is you would take your current environment, which you know what they are because of the flux, the flux sensors, okay? And you know what that is. Then you would tweak it. You would tweak all those values, and these are thick books of numerical values, and you would tweak them so that the only colors that exist is red for some strange, odd reason. Now you have a new set of coordinates, or you could do another set of coordinates. Instead of changing to color red, you could say, I'm going to make this a time machine, leave everything else the same. I'm just going to change the time vector. So you're going to end up in a place 5 years in the future. Or let's suppose you're going to change something else, not time, not colors. Maybe you want to change yourself. So then you alter your body. You find your body parameters and then you alter it. Make things bigger or smaller. Okay? Whatever it is, you now have a new set of coordinates. You then plug them into a mechanism that you have to add on to this electromagnetic generator, this huge magnet. You'll have to tack this onto it. Okay? Now what this unit does is it modulates your beaming wavelengths, your beaming frequencies into the bath, the electromagnetic bath that you enter into. Okay? And these frequencies that you beam into this bath are such that it alters the bath so that it thinks that you are in the world where everything is red. You understand what I'm trying to say? So what we're doing is we're creating an artificial future. If it's a time machine, let's suppose you want to beam up to 5 years in the future. You take your current coordinates, you modify them to be the coordinates for 5 years in the future, and now you have you have coordinates for a time machine that's 5 years in the future. Now what you do is you beam those coordinates into the electromagnetic bath. And that suddenly, that little region becomes 5 years in the future. That little region, that's what it is. Because by all intensive purposes, your quanta cannot distinguish between what it's walking into and what actually exists on the reality. That's the way quanta works. It can't tell the difference. If the environment around you is the same as here and here, it can't tell the difference between the two. So it has to be exactly the same. That's how it works. Now, in the most simplest manifestation of this technique is you put radar dishes or dishes, broadcast dishes. We call them dishes because they look like a dish, but you could just have antenna that beam this signal into the environment. Okay? In fact, if you wanted to, you could have the entire area be this one large antenna and just beaming straight in there. The ability for it to create this coded, apparent, faux future, if it's a 5 year in the future, or this faux apparent reality of red, if that's what you want, is not a function of the power. Once you've achieved the minimum amount of power, it doesn't matter if you put a lot of power into it or not. You've described the wavelengths are altering the electromagnetic bath that you're entering into. Okay? So it can actually be very low power. It just needs to be enough power to override the signals, the natural signals that surround you. But you're in a bath, right? So the secret to this is, as I've described, what you want to do is you want to carefully choreograph your walking into this mechanism. As you take, say, let's do 3 steps. 1 step, 2 step, 3 step. You go from nothing. In the second step, you're feeling the effects of the electromagnetic field. Third steps, everything goes gray for you because you are now in the white paper bath. Fourth step, the momentum is pulling you. Fourth step, suddenly the moment you reach the fourth step, that's the moment the antenna, broadcast antenna turns on, and you switch the coordinates. So you actually walk into this new coordinate regime. And you will, when you make the 5th step, be there, whether it's 5 years in the future or the land of the red. It's that simple. But is it really simple? That's the theory. That's in general how it works. But what's the issues involved? Let's talk about them. The good news is that broadcast antenna, frequency modulation, manipulation of frequencies, converting the frequencies that you read into something different is all well-established, mature technology. Most people who are Sparkies, electrical engineers, should be able to do that, especially broadcast engineers. It's not that difficult. That's the good news. The bad news is you've got to absolutely make sure that you are broadcasting full spectrum. If you have, and also you might have to use different antenna to handle different frequencies. You might have to have a low frequency antenna and a high frequency antenna and a medium frequency antenna, just like you have for speakers, right? In fact, what I'm describing here is nothing different than having sound audio speakers, high, mid, and bass, beaming into this environment. It's nothing different than that. It's the same basic principle. You are disrupting the bath, the electromechanical bath, by, if you use speakers, it's by sound, but by frequency. But you have to make sure that everything is 100% functional. You can't have an antenna go down on you. Whoops. That could be very, very bad. Who knows where you'll end up or what you'll look like. So you have to make sure everything is 100% operational. You have to make sure that the coordinates are 100% accurate. And to an observer watching you walk into this contraption, they will see you disappear. That's how it works. So it's not really that difficult. If you think about it, there's nothing that I've presented here or here that needs new scientific development. It's already off-the-shelf technologies. The trick is proper measurement of where you're at, careful alteration of that measurement to get to a destination, and making sure that everything is running and working fine. Once you go there, good luck getting back, because you have to have another device on the other side to come back to. Now, if you have everything the same, except, say, the time vector, say 6 months in the future, you can walk through that and you will come out and you will see the machine, the mechanism, just as you left it. Only it's on a 6 months in the future. Same thing is if it's 50 million years in the past. The same what you have here, change it to there, just alter the time. The influence, the magnetic influence of the devices will be carried with you. So it's very forgiving. It's a very forgiving system. But if you recall, I specifically said that what you want to do is you want to use the algorithms to separate the person entering this mechanism from the mechanism itself. So if you do that, you will end up in a spot where there's no return mechanism. You will be, if you're 50,000 years in the future or in the past, good luck finding wires, electricity and stuff, right? You'll be busy running away from dinosaurs. Now, this brings up to a very good question that's going to be on my next video about this DIY system. How can you alter the coordinates that you've obtained? What are the techniques? Well, yeah, like coders, you can go in and manually change numbers. But our brain, unless you're a mathematical savant, won't be able to do that. We have to use visualization techniques and fractals and mandabots are very, very helpful in this regard. And what you would do, and I'll talk about this in the other one, but basically what you would do is you would establish a mandabot set associated with your egress coordinate, or your departure coordinates, and then alter them to your egress coordinates, your destination coordinates. That's what you would do. And obviously it would take some understanding to know where you're at and where you're going. So if you think that this is going to be some kind of, well, I'm just going to hop in the machine, visit here, and then hop in the machine, visit there, and then hop in the machine, visit there, you can, but you're going to have to make a machine big enough that will appear to be like a vehicle. And that's a different technology. If you want something efficient, you'll use a different technology than this one. This is a fixed technology. Okay? It's a fixed technology. It tends to be large, but it's also stable, and it's also forgiving. Small alterations may not be that serious because it's more forgiving. And that's why I'm putting it down here for DIY. Obviously, I've discussed about making a vehicle for time travel and all kinds of stuff. There's all kinds of problems that result from that, I'll tell you what. So let's recoup this a little bit, shall we? Essentially, once you enter this mechanism, you want to electronically duplicate the quantum environment that you're desirous of moving towards. You create that environment by using radiation that is beamed into the egress chamber, which is basically a space. It's not a physical chamber. It's just this physical space without any walls. You beam into that. And then as you walk into that, you are instantaneously, just like a magnet, you're instantaneously teleported, because once the system turns off, you stay fixed to that modulated artificial environment, and you boomerang straight to wherever it's at. And that's how it works. It's instantaneous. So you walk into it and you go somewhere else. Pretty damn cool. Like the Star Trek teleporter, don't you know? A couple of things. For the most part, you could conceivably only place the variances. For instance, if you beam in only the section that you want to change and all the rest stays the same, you can do that, and you will suddenly be able to go to wherever you want. You don't have to duplicate the entire environment. The key and the problem here is the separation of coordinates from where you are to where you're. Which coordinate is a desk and which coordinate is a chair, okay? You have to be able to separate all this stuff. Because it's time consuming and very difficult, and it's easy and prone to make mistakes, most people won't do that. They'll just take the entire environment and beam a changed environment back in there. It's just safer that way. But you don't have to. You can say, all right, I want to go to a world line where instead of using a pen, I use a pencil. And then that particular pencil, its quantum waveform has been replaced with that of a pen. And you go and suddenly you've got a pen instead of a pencil. You can do that. It is possible. But is it safe? And the reason why most people don't do that is because it's prone to potential problems. And you don't want to mess with its potential problems because it could be very bad. So because there's so many issues involved regarding problems and calibration and all that, what we're going to do in the next installment of this DIY exercise is to talk a little bit about Mandelbrot sets and how they affect egress coordinates. I hope you all find it interesting, and I hope you guys enjoyed this little spout. There's nothing here that's any different than what is already known. It's just the application of the technology. Hopefully you understand what's going on and are not freaked out about it and enjoy it. In any ways, people, just know that I believe in you, and I hope whatever you do in the future that you handle it to the best of your ability, because, well, I believe in you guys.